With the CBO report released, there will be perhaps even more pressure on those Republicans who have already said that they're unlikely to support the bill. I mean, this certainly isn't going to make the case easier for those who are facing tough re-election battles coming up. And we've broken down over the past week some of those who've said they're against it and why they're against it. You know, Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, and then Nevada Republican Senator Dean Heller on Friday, I believe, why he was against it. Today we have another one coming from a slightly different angle, and that is Senator Ron Johnson, who posted an editorial in the New York Times breaking down some of his reasons he's against this bill. He said, "We should return more flexibility to states to give individuals the freedom and choice to buy plans they want without Obamacare's reforms that make the health insurance worth a damn. And we should look to improve successful models for protecting individuals with pre-existing conditions, models underway prior to Obamacare, such as those in Maine and Wisconsin. Only then can the market begin to rein in the underlying cost of healthcare itself and reduce the cost of taxpayer subsidies." So we've been talking about the moderate objections to this bill. That's not what we have here, though. He says there's too much being spent on subsidies, even though this bill is cutting those subsidies and eventually killing the out-of-pocket subsidies. So he wants more subsidy reduction, and he specifically doesn't like that it still technically protects those with pre-existing conditions. So like that's the part everybody can get behind, that you should still maintain those. But Ron Johnson says those have got to go, or he can't vote for it.
Okay, so here we go again with the myth of the moderate Republican. Ron Johnson, when he was running against Russ Feingold in what appeared to be a tight race for a while in Wisconsin, there was a lot of press about like, well, I mean, Ron Johnson's not one of those conservative Republicans, he's a moderate Republican. And Feingold, who's very progressive, had won that seat before, of course. And so, you know, we've got a guy who's really on the left and a moderate Republican. And so when I read that Ron Johnson was concerned about this bill, even me, for a second, I was like, oh, look, there it is. I guess, you know, I'm waiting on Susan Collins, and it looks like Ron Johnson will come as a moderate Republican and object to. And then no, he thinks it's too moderate. He thinks it needs to be more conservative, more draconian, and you need to make sure that people with pre-existing condition do not get health care, okay? So now that seems like a hyperbole. I mean, they don't get insurance. No. In a radio interview, which I think we have for you, he made it clear that, like, I mean, look, this is like, I mean, the guys are already a wreck. These people are a wreck.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so what are we gonna get? Just give them the insurance at the same price we give healthy people? That's the point of insurance. There are no moderate Republicans. No, he went over the top conservative here. So the next time they lie to you and they do those political ads and etc., no, the minute they get into office, they are going to be extreme right-wingers, just like Ron Johnson. Yeah. He serves the wealthy donors. It's his own class. That's what his whole point was. And so I need more tax cuts for the rich. I need more tax cuts. And I want to decipher them because that's partly our job here. What Republicans mean when they use code words. Code word freedom has nothing to do with freedom. Freedom means tax cuts for the rich. So the Obamacare didn't have enough freedom. In other words, I'd like $800 billion in tax cuts for the rich. Okay, and when they say protecting, they mean destroying. So in this case, he used the word protecting in the context of, we'd like to protect people with pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, now you're protected right now.
Yeah. Now, if you think, you say, oh, well, maybe he does mean protecting. Maybe you guys are being unfair. We have clearer quotes in a second, exactly what his intention is, okay? And whenever they say they're going to protect Social Security or Medicare, that means they're gonna cut it. In order to protect it, we have to trim it, cut it, rein it in so that it could exist at a much reduced level later. And remember what they said about Medicaid. They were going to protect Medicaid. And what did they just do? They cut it by $772 billion. That is a proposal that Ron Johnson thinks doesn't go far enough.
Yeah. Well, why don't we turn to the radio interview you alluded to? We're gonna get to his really cruel comparison of people with pre-existing conditions to something else. You're gonna love the metaphor he uses there.
We've done something with our healthcare system that you would never even think about doing, for example, with auto insurance, where you'd require auto insurance companies to sell a policy to somebody after they crash their car. States that have enacted guaranteed issue, which is the guarantee for pre-existing conditions, it crashes their markets. It causes these markets to collapse. It causes premiums to skyrocket. Now, the good news, Chuck, is you can actually address people with pre-existing conditions without collapsing markets. It's by properly designing high-risk pools. You know, Main Pass guaranteed issue, and what they had to do is they had to institute an invisible high-risk pool.
Okay, so let's break that down. Number one, he's talking about auto insurance. I mean, it would be an outrage to mandate auto insurance. Oh, right, it is mandated. Yeah. So when we said maybe we should mandate healthcare insurance, they're like, "Oh, good, the government, man, there's no freedom left in the country." Well, how can we still have our freedoms when we're mandated to buy auto insurance? Nonetheless,
you think we have our freedoms?
Gone. I just wanted to have no insurance at all and recklessly crash into everyone, but they took my freedom away. Okay, so then, but let's go to the heart of his commentary, which is that, well, I mean, look, would you give somebody car insurance if they already had a crash? In other words, if you have a pre-existing condition, you've already had a crash. Your body's crashed, you're useless. Of course, we're not gonna give you health insurance, or if we do, we're gonna charge you an arm and a leg, maybe literally. And so that's a sad day for you, man. That's the market crushing your soul and your well-being, literally in this case. Yeah. And Ron Johnson doesn't mind it. He celebrates it, he calls it freedom. Now, he works for those guys, he works for those corporations, so he thinks, you're taking my freedom away to charge you so much more if you're sick. I mean, what do you want me to do? Cover people the same just because they have insurance? You think it's supposed to be like insurance where the healthy and everybody pay in, and then when you get sick, you get it out? No, when you get sick, you get screwed so I can make more money. You see my analogy? So this is the moderate Republican.
Well, I mean, I would go just one step farther in that the comparison to the person who's had some car wrecks, he's not saying it, but he's saying it, is that if you have a pre-existing condition, you did something reckless. I don't know what it is, but you did something, because somebody who's just getting into car accidents obviously is doing something wrong. And so in his metaphor, a child who's born with some sort of juvenile cancer has made the wrong choices in life. They lived recklessly. I mean, think about how easy it would be to put together ads against him. Like, show the people with actual pre-existing conditions, congenital heart defects, predispositions for certain types of cancer, genetic illnesses, autoimmune disorders. Those people are fucking reckless. That's what's going on. They're just getting drunk behind the wheel and smashing into someone. Who the hell would vote for that guy if that's what he sees his constituents as?
By the way, if you did that ad, and the Republicans do vicious smear ads that aren't remotely true, like they did against Ossoff, saying that he was part of the people that led to the shooting of Steve Scalise. Yeah. But if you did that perfectly accurate ad with him saying, I mean, hey, look, man, if you get into car accidents, that's your problem. But a baby born with no fault of their own, he would exclude. You know what the mainstream press would do? They say, oh, this Democrat won't be civil. They're not civil anymore, these Democrats. How dare you point out that if people don't have insurance and they have a major ailment, then they get sick. Of course,
now look, if Joe Scarborough wants to play the ad a whole bunch of times, he's free to.
Yeah, and look, you know me, John, I'm with you, full speed ahead. I'm just telling you that there is no such thing as liberal media. No, those guys will pounce on any Democrat that actually aggressively tells you the truth.
That's true.
And right now, we're in the middle of he said, she said.
Just one other point to make. So we're talking about those Republican senators who have said, at least so far, that they're not supporting the bill. Some of them have been very specific about why they're not supporting it in their quotes. And in several cases, what they said was sort of contingent on the CBO report. Well, now the CBO report is out. And so we can say definitively whether it makes sense for them to now switch to supporting the bill. So I'm gonna read 2 quotes for you. The first is from Susan Collins, Republican senator, who said, I can't support a bill that's going to greatly increase premiums for our older Americans or out-of-pocket costs. We showed you, it does that. For those who aren't quite old enough for Medicare yet. I cannot support a bill that is going to result in tens of millions of people losing their health insurance, which the CBO shows will happen. And I can't support a bill that's going to make such deep cuts in Medicaid. Almost 800 billion. So according to Susan Collins, that's 3 strikes. She is now out. She will not be supporting this bill if she has any integrity and stands by her word. But in addition, Dean Heller, this was released at the end of last week, said, I cannot support a piece of legislation that takes away insurance from tens of millions of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Nevadans. Well, it takes away insurance from tens of millions of Americans, so it looks like Dean Heller will not be supporting this bill either.
So don't get John wrong. Collins and Heller have not said that they are not supporting this bill. Okay, so we're going to find out.
They just said it though. They can't support it if it does that. Well, it does that. I don't know if they know that, but now they know because they watch our clip.
Okay, so there you go. There's two.
There's two.
There's two. All you need is one more, right?
Ted Cruz will do the right thing.
They'll vote for it. They'll all vote. No, 50 of them will vote. 50 or 51 of them will vote for it. They will
save one.
They will. If they think Susan Collins needs to vote against it in order to win her next election in Maine, or Heller in Nevada,
Heller, maybe
they
Johnson.
will release one of them or two of them and pass it with the absolute bare minimum. And you remember when Obama was like, well, we do have 60 Democratic senators. You remember when they had the supermajority? We can even get it past the filibuster. We can do anything we want. But we should ask the Republicans what they want just to get them on board. Anyway, Young Turks now has over 6 billion lifetime views. You know who did that? You did that. We're now larger than CNN, ABC, you name a news network online, we're larger than them. And you built all that as everyone scoffed and didn't believe. And here we are, guys, thanks to you. Build independent media together with us at tytnetwork.com/join.